Welcome, everyone. We are going to kick off a new series. Welcome to our Careers in the Jewelry Industry series, where we speak to people who have very different jobs in our industry. We're going to start today with a gemologist. Hi, I'm Sonia Esther Soltani, Editor-in-Chief at Rapaport, and my first guest today is Adrianne Senego. Adrianne is a GG, a graduate gemologist from the GIA. She's also the co-founding member and the education chair of Black in Jewelry Coalition, and she happens to be a contributor to Rapaport Magazine and many other publications such as the Zing Report, National Diamond Council, and also the Jewelers Collective. So I'm going to have Adrianne join us right now. And if you want to know more about Adrianne's journey, we had an article in Rapaport Magazine, our first column as our education. Hi, Adrianne.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. So lovely to see you. I was just telling our listeners that they can read about your journey in Rapaport Magazine.
Yes.
Obviously, the print issue that's from last April 2022. It's also available on rapaport.com, and we'll add the link to all the material that we'll create after this live.
Awesome.
How are you today, Adrianne?
I'm doing well. How about you? How are you doing?
Great. I'm so happy to have you to start this series. So it's careers in the jewelry industry. How do you become a gemologist, a PR, a cutter? We'll see all this in the coming weeks, but I'm happy we're starting with you. So we're not going to start, how did you get started? But when was the moment when you felt, I'm a gemologist?
Wow. I had to think about that. So I got a call from a jewelry store, consignment store that sells antique and, secondhand jewelry. And they called me and said, I have this lot that came in and I need your help with it. Do you think you can help me? And I'm like, yeah. So that was when I really thought, wait a minute, this is what I studied, all these years for, and I'm helping someone, put a value on their jewelry so that they can sell it and share it with their customer or consumer base. So that was really the aha moment for me.
And how long after you graduated from the GIA did that come?
It was about maybe a year after that. So she knew I was studying. I visited her store quite a bit, and she knew I was studying to be a gemologist. And the fact that she trusted me to handle that for her was really, I think that was the aha moment, because it was a lot of jewelry and it had quite a bit of value to it.
And just tell us a bit more. I think a lot of people have a vague idea, actually, even if we are in the industry, what does a gemologist actually do? So tell us what you do.
Gemologists are scientists who correctly identify minerals and gems, and they separate natural from synthetic or man-made. They also can determine value, and they identify species and varieties. As you know, there are different types of, with gems and minerals, you have your species, but then you have varieties of species. So we are the people that separate all of that for you, for the public, or for whoever the consumer happens to be.
And for someone who'd be interested in becoming a gemologist, what kind of qualities do you need?
You need patience, perseverance, curiosity, integrity, and you have to have a strong will, because people will challenge you, consumers and people in the industry alike, about what you're identifying. It could be something that they thought was one thing and you're telling them it's something else. You have to be able to stand your ground based on the research that you have been able to obtain with that particular gem, mineral, or piece of jewelry.
Do you have a specific example of one situation where you felt, your expertise, your knowledge had shown through, with a client or in an industry context?
Yes. So another instance of another consignment store I was visiting, I was looking at some diamond earrings. They were antique diamond earrings, but they did also have moonstones in them. So they were white moonstones. So all the gems, they all had like a theme, like a white and colorless theme to it. But I just wanted to be sure the lighting wasn't really good. And I had a diamond tester with me. So to make quick work of it, I used a diamond tester because I could identify it other ways, but I didn't have a magnifying glass. So I took out my diamond tester to, just to make it quick because it was a lot of diamonds. And the owner of the store said to me, "Oh, do you mind testing these earrings I have in the back? I'm not really sure about them." So she brought them out. I inspected them. There were no markings, no hallmarks on them at all. A pair of a pair of earrings that looked to be about 2 carats. And she had a price on them. She had $60 on the price tag. And I tested them with first I suspected they were diamonds, natural diamonds, probably 90% just by looping them. But when I tested them with the diamond tester, it came up positive for diamond. And I said to her, "Excuse me, you have $60 on here. You might want to add several zeros to that. These are natural diamonds." And she goes, "Oh my gosh," she says, "I'm so happy you told me that." She said the client didn't know what they were because they didn't have hallmarks on them. And they just threw them in the whole pile. And, I said to her, "You need to call the client and have a discussion with her about what they are. And you need to look at that price and reevaluate it." So I gave her what my suggestions were, and she was so happy. She became a client after that, based on that, on that encounter.
That's a wonderful story. Also shows integrity. You didn't snap the $60 and take them out.
The people were like, a lot of people, when I tell that story, they were like, "I just would have bought them." And
Yeah.
but it's not. I could have done that, right? But there's no fun in that type of acquisition. That wouldn't be fun. The fun was telling her that she had something very valuable. That was more fun to me.
Absolutely. And creating a wonderful, long-lasting relationship.
Absolutely. Yes. That part.
And for people joining us now, I just want to say we're going to carry on talking a bit about Adrianne's career, her advice. We already have a few questions, but if you want to ask questions, put it in comment. And as soon as we finish the introduction, I'm sure Adrianne will be delighted to answer questions. So if you want to become a gemologist, if you want to know a bit more about the career path, and maybe if it's the right fit for you, I'm sure Adrianne will have a lot of wisdom on that. So don't hesitate, put in comments here. And who are the inspiring people in your career? Because you started a bit later in life. You didn't start a gemology career in your early 20s. It's after a lot of personal journey and different changes. So who inspired you once you started on this journey?
I would have to say my kids inspired me because I wanted to be a good example of pursuing something that this was a bit out of reach, in my opinion, especially when I look back on it. It's a strange career for someone such as myself. At the age, I started pursuing this when I was in my 50s, which is when most people are wrapping up a career. But I was determined because I love this industry. I love gems and minerals and jewelry. And, my kids were a big inspiration, and I continue to inspire them. And they don't tell me that directly. It's just by what they do and say. And then my younger self, I look at my younger self. This is something I wish I had done when I was in my 20s. Actually, right out of high school, I would have probably taken a career path as a geologist, and then I would have become a gemologist, just based on all the things that I love about this industry. So those, my kids and my younger self are the people that inspired me to keep going.
That's lovely. I see that someone says you're such an inspiration, but it's true. I think a lot of people, especially with what you do for, educating and bringing people from different backgrounds earlier on in their life on that journey. I think that's absolutely wonderful. We'll talk about it as well. Mm-hmm. And then I know you give a lot of advice. You advise people, you mentor people, but what is the best advice that you received on this journey to become a gemologist?
I have a mentor who is not in this industry at all. In fact, she is a former high fashion model, and she does image consulting and mentoring. And she said to me when I started this journey to dedicate an hour, at least an hour per day toward your goals. Now, when you're studying to be a gemologist, especially the way I did it, which was distance education, you need more than that hour. So I added that hour onto whatever I was doing to study to become a gemologist. She also told me, because I'm very shy naturally, and people don't really believe that, because I don't know, I'm outgoing, but if I don't know you, I'm very shy. And so she told me to make sure to take up my whole space, whichever room I'm in or wherever I find myself, take up your whole space, because I can be very reserved. And so she wanted me to blossom more and take up my whole space. So that's really good advice that I received from the same person.
That is a beautiful advice, I think, for everyone starting any career and any time in a career. Actually, it's very easy to claim your space.
Yes, I agree. And I think that advice can be for anyone, any gender, any background, any class of anybody. I think it's a broad reaching good advice.
Absolutely. And I like it a lot. I really, really like it, especially because, as you said, you started in this career in your 50s. It's after going through cancer treatment. You've written about it, so I don't want to disclose.
Of course, yes.
Actually, add to the journey, you got scholarships as well. That you can maybe explain to us a little bit how you got these scholarships. And you mentioned distance learning. I think maybe just to explain to people how you studied. There are different courses in the world. The one that is maybe I think is a false claim to say, the leading course is the one from the GIA, from the Gemological Institute of America, that you took, that you're a graduate gemologist from. So can you explain to us practically, how did you study?
So as you mentioned, I did distance learning. I was a divorced mother of 2 teenagers. So I did not have the luxury of studying on campus. So distance learning can be very challenging in itself, because you have to be very, very disciplined. So the way I approached that was I looked at it as if it were an appointment that I had every day with myself. And I didn't take days off, because for me, that worked for me. Doesn't have to work for everyone, but that's how I did it. And I set aside time every day after everything else was done in the day. I set aside time, lunch breaks also. My daughter was on the crew team rowing. So at the river, I had my books or my iPad with me studying. Every place I could study, I studied. In addition to what I set aside, I finished the program in 25 months. So it was a little bit over 2 years. And you really have to be dedicated and focused, because there are a lot of distractions in life. Even if you're on campus, you can become distracted. So if it's something that you really want, though, nothing is going to stop you. Because as you mentioned, I had to have cancer treatments. I had a major surgery. I had recovery. And at one point I was kind of not doing well. And my instructors at GIA, they noticed that, and they asked me, is everything okay? And I said, well, I didn't want to share that with them. So I just said to them, I'll get it together. So I had to refocus and get back on track. It took a lot, but if it's something you really want, regardless of what kind of program you're studying or what you're pursuing, your journey in life, it can be done. You have to just tell yourself that is what you want, and nothing will stop you from getting it.
And you proved it.
Yeah. In terms of scholarships, I'm sorry, I didn't answer that part. I did a lot of internet mining, meaning I'm constantly looking on the internet for opportunities for scholarships. The GIA provides scholarships. Organizations, trade organizations can provide scholarships. Your religious institutions can provide scholarships. My dad was a U.S. Marine. Because he served his country, I got a scholarship from them for the time that I studied. They paid for a lot of my courses as well. So, and WJA, I don't know if I mentioned them, they paid for, basically they're the ones who really solidified my GG, because the scholarship I won from them was able to buy the equipment I needed for my lab in order to study GemID, which is, a key core component of becoming a gemologist. So there's some work involved in finding the scholarships, but again, if it's something that you want, you're going to find that money.
Absolutely. You mentioned the Women's Jury Association, GIA, which is, you know, a wonderful association to be part of. They have chapters in different cities across the United States. They also have an international membership. So they also offer mentoring, a lot of webinars, a lot of support, and obviously they also offer a lot of scholarships in partnerships with different organizations as well. So
absolutely,
you do need to do your research, but there are a lot of help out there, as you said. But you need to do your research and do that.
Yes, you do. Yeah.
And we had a really interesting questions. Well, what is the most frequent question you ask about your profession?
So people really don't know what a gemologist is. People, when you say gemologist, people think geologist. So gemologist is under the geologist umbrella. So people just really want to know, what is it that you do? Do you make jewelry? A lot of people ask me, do I make jewelry? I'm like, no, I'm not that talented. That's a separate talent I don't possess. The most frequent question, also, the other frequent question is about lab grown diamonds. A lot of people ask me what my opinion is on lab grown diamonds, and I give them the facts first, and then I give them my opinion, which I think is helpful.
Absolutely. And what are they asking? Because there's too much confusion in the market and they don't really understand because of marketing. How do you explain, let's say, without, and then we'll maybe ask you your opinion as well.
Well, I let them know, because a lot of people, there's a lot of greenwashing in the industry, not just about lab grown diamonds, but about a lot of materials that are used to make jewelry. I let them know what the pros are of natural diamonds, and I let them know what the pros are of, you know, having a lab grown diamond choice. And I let them then decide after they have the facts, because a lot of them are misinformed. As we know, a lot of the public is misinformed about natural and lab grown. So I just really list the facts, and then I let them make a decision after that. Because a lot of people who ask me this question are looking to buy engagement rings, or they're shopping or thinking about it. So I want them to have all the facts before they make a final decision.
And do you give them your opinion all the time, or you?
Sometimes it depends. It depends on who it is and how well I know the person, because I never want to be misquoted about, you know, both industries are industries that employ people, right? So you have to be very careful about how you deliver that opinion, because you don't want to be, I don't want to be disruptive about it, because there's a lot of room to do a lot of damage. So I'm very careful about my opinion.
That's very interesting, because I guess that's the thing. The gemologist is the expert, is the source of knowledge and expertise in terms of saying what a diamond is, what a gemstone is, what it is. Facts, but not maybe always to give the opinion.
Not all the time, right? There's a time and a place for my opinion, so I'm very careful with it.
And that's, I think, a very good way to define a gemologist as an unbiased expert that shows integrity and knows the hard facts to be able to share them.
Mm-hmm.
And
absolutely,
we have someone just asked something that I think I would like to take on now, not to wait. What kind of gemology webinars, columns, lectures did you listen to or attend at the beginning of your career?
So I became a gemologist, and then maybe a couple of years after that, we had the pandemic started. So a lot of institutions were providing webinars for free, just because, you know, they had a captive audience. So what I do every year is the GIA has continuing education courses. So I'm sure to enroll in those, but I don't limit myself to the GIA. I also like to look at De Beers. I like looking at the Swiss Gemological Institute, Diamond Council of America. There are a lot of resources for information on gemology and jewelry. Christie's is another place that I like to take courses at. Christie's on jewelry history. You don't have to use just one source, because the fact of the matter is, all of these institutions, and of course I mean trusted institutions that have been vetted, They all have a different place in the industry. They have different experiences. They have different and goals and aspirations as institutions. And so you can learn something different. The science is going to be the same about gems and jewelry, about gems and minerals. The science is the same, but their knowledge and expertise will be different because of their perspectives. And I like to take it all in, and then I'm able to share that with the public, with my mentees, with my audience. I think it's important to be well-rounded and not just have one perspective or one point of view. That's my job, honestly, to protect the consumer. The consumer can be a customer, meaning like a retail consumer, or the consumer could just be another person, a peer in the industry, someone who needs my help. It could be a jeweler, a designer, another gemologist. It could be anybody.
And I think what's really interesting and I think very inspiring for people is that once you become a gemologist, that doesn't stop. You learn all the time. I mean, you became a gemologist because you love learning in the first place. Right. You carry on with the webinars, with the encounters. You're also the chair of education for Black in Jewelry Coalition, which is a wonderful forum for people to enter the industry. So can you tell us a bit more about this role as an education chair and how that fits into the whole purpose you have for the industry?
Yes, thank you. It gives me an opportunity to expand my role in the industry, but also bringing this type of knowledge and awareness of our industry to underserved populations, to people who, and I want to say people who wouldn't think of this industry as a career, but that's broader than I thought it was, right? I thought maybe just the underserved communities did not know about this industry. It's actually a lot more than just my community that doesn't know about gems and jewelry as a business. But I like to go into the schools, the middle schools and the high schools, to introduce not just gemology, but other careers in the industry to the younger people, because we want them to know that this is an option. And I introduce it as STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, because that's what the jewelry and gem industry really is. And you can throw art in and call it STEAM, right? It's really about a lot of those things. So these kids should know that this option is out there. And then with IT having such a strong presence in our industry right now, a lot of kids are very interested in tech. So that is another entree into our industry that I think is important to introduce at an early age. So I really love my role as the education chair, going into and visiting these schools, and then creating scholarships with partners, creating opportunities for people. Because I heard someone yesterday, I was on a call, saying that education is not accessible to a lot of people. It broke my heart when I heard that. It's not accessible, but we try very hard to create these scholarships so that people can take these courses and, develop a journey in the industry.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to say that a lot of sort of free resources that people can look up, especially now after COVID, with all the webinars that are available online, from trade publications, I think yesterday you just did a very nice webinar on National Jeweler.
Yes.
So, there's a lot of things to check, JCK, also podcast, webinars. So, just to learn things, I think, you can start with a lot. The GIA also has the first level accessible courses that you can attend. The resources online are all for free, all the articles, all the content of top level content. So there's a lot of opportunities for us to learn as well for free.
Yes.
And then to get the first step in your journey.
Absolutely. And I encourage people. So what I did, when I knew GIA had an educational institution, I did the GIA Kids, the Gem Kids. That was free. And it was great. I'm like, wow, it really whet my appetite to further, go down the road with that. So again, like you said, there are a lot of free resources online. The Swiss Gemological Institute, if anyone is interested after this, you can DM me. I have a link to take intro classes there on the big three, gems and diamond and pearl. So you know, when people ask me, do you think it's for me? I encourage you to do a little bit of research, because you really, really have to have the desire and the focus to want to be a gemologist. It's not an easy, journey, but it's doable if it's something you're interested in. But you have to be very dedicated to it. It's difficult. I'm just going to say it is. It is, but it's doable. I mean, at my age, if I could do it, anybody can do it.
Well, you showed a lot of dedication.
Thank you.
And that would be my next question, because, okay, now you're a gemologist. Is there opportunities for growth once you're a gemologist? You know, how do you grow? How do you expand? How do you build more on what you've learned and what you've already achieved?
So when I was studying, I'm like, okay, I want to be a gemologist. There's going to be a microscope in front of me and a whole pile of gems and jewelry next to me, and I'm just going to be pulling things off and looking under the microscope. That's what I thought I'd be doing, and I'm not doing anything like that. So there are a lot of opportunities as a gemologist, especially thanks to lab-grown diamonds. More people are going to want gemologists on their staff to help separate the natural from the lab-grown, because as they come into the market more, we need skilled people who can do that. Number two, you can go into so many different fields as a gemologist. You don't have to be behind a microscope. You could be in the auction houses. You could be in the retail space. You can be a buyer. You could be going on the buying trips to at the, you know, mine sites, or, you know, these big fairs where they have gems and jewelry to buy. You can be a journalist. And I have to tell you, there are not a lot of gemologists / journalists out there. A lot of journalists are journalists, like pure journalists. And so a journalist that's also a gemologist is a rarity. And I'm quite enjoying this space myself. You can do lectures, you can do workshops, master classes, because your expertise is valuable. So you don't have to confine yourself to just identifying gems and jewelry behind a microscope. You can expand upon that, because I feel that my job as a gemologist is to educate the public consistently and constantly about what's out there, answering questions, and just educating people on a basic level in order to inspire them to do maybe more research on their own.
That's very important. I think it's keep sharing the knowledge, keep helping other people to understand what gems are, what diamonds are, the differences between the natural and the lab created. I think
yes,
that's a very good one, because consumers, that's what they want, and they feel they can have all this access on the internet, but nothing beats, I think, the first-hand knowledge from the experts.
yes. Such as you have to be careful with the internet. You know, with anything, we're all looking on the internet for answers. Let's just be clear, myself included. But it's also good when you have a trusted source that you can go to and say, okay, I know this person is dedicated. I don't sell diamonds, whether they be lab grown or natural. I don't sell anything. So I don't benefit from telling you to buy one or the other. I don't really care. What I care about is that you're educated about your choices. That's what I care about.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And what is your career motto? I know you love inspirational quotes. You share a lot of them on your Instagram, that to inspire others, to uplift others. I'm not always crazy about the word empower, because I think people are powerful already, but to share that power. So what is Adrianne's favorite motto?
My motto is, there's enough space for all of us. If I have a resource, meaning it could be anything, right? It could be knowledge, connections. It could actually be something tangible. If I have something that can benefit another person and it doesn't damage me, right? I'm not going to suffer, to share it. I share a lot of things. If I hear about an opportunity or something that I know someone needs, I have like this, I don't know, like a Rolodex in my mind, like, oh, this person said they needed this, and then this person said they had it. I like to put people together that can help one another or benefit one another. So my motto is, I don't hold back. I think my mother used to say I was I'm too giving, but I don't think there's such a thing, but I do have to balance it. But my motto is to share the wealth, right? And wealth doesn't just have to be money.
course.
right?
Time, expertise, knowledge.
Yeah, share it, share it. Uplift others. It doesn't cost me anything to uplift another person. Even an opportunity that comes along that I think would be good for someone. It might be good for me too, but maybe it's better for that person, or that person is better suited. I pass it along, because what's for you is going to find you.
Beautiful. I would like to finish on this almost, because it's so inspiring. I see a lot of people reacting and saying, you know, how beautiful it is, and what a beautiful mindset and the generous spirit of yours. I'm just going, but we have questions, so I don't want people who kindly join us and send us questions to not have an answer to that question. One is from Stefania from Amber Soup Jewelry in London. And she asks, if you study online, how do you manage to do that if you don't have all the equipment, or at least basic equipment? I think that's a great question for a lot of people who might consider studying online and carrying on working in a full-day job.
Right. So one of the requirements when you're on your path to a graduate gemology degree, you have to have the equipment if you're studying at home. If you don't own the equipment, some people are studying distance learning because they work for someone. They work for someone that does have all the equipment, like a jewelry store or another lab. So they will allow you to borrow equipment, but you actually have to prove that you have the equipment. And this was way before COVID, when we were doing like, you know, what do you call that? When you share your phone, what's it called? I can't remember what it's called. Like you had to go around with your phone and show the instructor that you had the equipment needed to start studying. They won't let you until they know. So you have to prove it. So my advice is try to borrow some, maybe, or maybe look secondhand for certain things on eBay, but always check with your instructor to make sure that you're getting the right equipment that is necessary, because you're only going to hurt yourself if you don't have the right equipment. You won't be able to complete your assignments.
Absolutely. And I think also sometimes it's just to be a bit bold and ask people, can I come and use your equipment? Maybe, you know, I mean, if you don't try, you don't get. That's my fear.
Yes, you have to go for it like that. You know, I'm one of those people, even though I'm shy, I can be quite, it's like, this is what I need, and do you mind helping me? Because the only thing I can say is yes or no. It's not going to kill you. And actually, that's like a muscle. The more that you ask, the easier it becomes, you know, as you go on. You got to get what you need. You know, if that's part of your journey and you can't make that happen, ask someone that can.
Great one. Good for every career, not just the gemologist.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
And we had another really interesting question from Nee, who's a high jewelry designer in London, who asked how boutique designers could work with independent gemologists in conjunction with big laboratories.
So I think the designers, they're working with gems and they want to make sure maybe they have a report for it, something that can accompany the piece after it's been created. I think having those conversations one-on-one with the gemologist that you want to work with, and talking about how can you get those reports, because it is good to have a report, especially with high jewelry. There's a big price, you know, commitment to that, right? Why not have the report? And I'm not trying to spend people's money by any means, but, you know, diamond reports, gemology reports, a lot of times you can get them for less than probably 200. I'm gonna say 100 to 200, right? But if you're making a high jewelry piece to begin with, it's not really that much that you're adding on to that. The consumer needs and wants that, because that's going to actually help with the appraisal and help with their insurance coverage. I think it should be part of that design process. And I think it's a conversation. Maybe you want to go to a trusted institution, GIA, FGA, to ask them, do you have any recommendations for gemologists that I can speak with, and have the conversation and let them know what it is that you're trying to do. And a lot of gemologists would be happy to help you with that process.
Thank you so much. I hope that answers
Me too.
Lee's question. And of course, you know, more questions. I know that Adrianne is happy to reply to that directly.
Yes, and Yeah, DM me if if we don't get to your question or you think of something later on, which is what I always do. You can always DM me, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Yeah, someone makes a really good comment that the loss is much greater if the gemstone is not as it was represented, as the lab report is essential.
Yes.
So that's where expertise really comes through. Thank you so much, Adrianne. Well, I think you covered so much already about how you become a gemologist. What is the gemologist really doing? The type of path you can take, the financial help you can have, the right setting, the right equipment to have, and something that is beyond that, is the right mindset. I liked what you said, that when you wrote that in your first piece for Rapaport Magazine, that you needed equal amount of discipline, commitment, focus, and an unflinching belief in yourself. That was the key things that took you there. And I think that's really inspiring for everyone that decide to become a gemologist at any stage of their life, wherever they're coming from. But you'll need a lot of these key strengths to get it.
Yes.
And tell me, Adrianne, what is next for you? What's the future for you as a gemologist?
I like to keep on writing. I love writing. Gives me the opportunity to share that expertise that I have, educating the public about different topics that I think are important at the time, or maybe even sometimes things that people are not thinking about, right? That they don't know, that you don't know what you don't know. That's all of us. So I love writing. I love lecturing. I love workshops. It's really about educating. I didn't know that this was the path that I was going to take, honestly, that I'm focusing so much on educating people. And I want to keep going down that path. I think it's so important. I hear so many mistakes out here in the industry. Just consumers, the way that they speak about gems and jewelry, in particular diamonds, is so much misinformation. It just pains me. But I love having a forum to be able to correct things or give more information. That's the way that I want to keep going. And to add on to that, to get the youth involved in the industry. So just going and introducing this industry to the young people. Because if I see 200 kids and maybe 10 are interested in different careers, that's okay. It's not for everyone. This industry is not for everyone, just like every other industry is not for everyone, right? But if I could plant that seed, I want to be the person that I wish I met when I was that age, that came to my school and said, listen, this is a career path, because I had no idea. That's who I am when I go talk to these kids.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. They will be very lucky to meet you.
Thank you.
And if you could this live we're already underway. It's going to be saved in our feed, in our Reel section on Rapaport Jewelry Pro on Instagram. And we're also going to host all the videos on our new YouTube channel, Jewelry Connoisseur, so people will be able to watch at their leisure. And we'll have a bit of a follow-up article as well, with the key takeaways from this article, from this live. And obviously, I always recommend to read Adrianne's column in Rapaport Magazine on education, and on rapaport.com, and to follow our account, obviously, on Instagram, and for so much inspiration and so much generosity as well. Thank you so much, really, Adrianne, for your time today.
Thank you, Sonia, for being a big part of my journey. I owe a lot to you. I don't know if it's appropriate to say that or not, but I owe a lot of my journey to you. You've been such an inspiration as well. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Adrianne. And thanks for everyone who joined us today. And please always feel free, if you have more questions, to DM us at Rapaport Jewelry Pro, to DM Adrianne. We want it to be really a community where people feel they can ask questions and they can really build their career and grow in their career, and maybe think of career options they never had thought before. So please use this forum like it's your forum, and we'll have more amazing people like Adrianne joining us in the coming months, talking about their path, their career, their journey. Thank you very much. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Adrianne. Thank you.
You're welcome.